I want to thank you for being on BCB Live.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Andy. Have a good one, buddy. Thank you for joining BCB Live.
I want to thank each and every one. Hey, thank you for taking time to join BCB Live.
I want to thank you for coming on and shedding light.
Thank you so much. Loved having you on here. Woo! Great job, Clara. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Sheriff, we're truly honored to have you here as a guest today. Sheriff, let me tell you, you have an important job down there. For those that aren't aware of what you do today, hey, tell us a little bit about your responsibilities as a sheriff in Arizona.
Well, look, I'm a sheriff over a county the size of the state of Connecticut, 5,400 square miles. We've got, we're not right on the border, but we're one county off the border. And we become that choke point with everything that's coming across the border. To get into Phoenix, they've got to come through my county. So that means the people that are being trafficked and the drugs that are being trafficked have to come through my county. I have a county agency of 600 employees with about a $55 million budget. So we got a lot going on every day, but the biggest thing we're dealing with right now is the border crisis. And we're fighting hard to help our federal partners deal with that.
And let's talk a little bit. I know you've been doing this. You're doing a great job down there, but you are transitioning. And as we got the United States flag up. You are transitioning from basically being the law enforcer, and you're moving into the lawmaker role. Please tell me a little bit about why and what you're doing it for.
Well, you go from dealing with one set of bad guys to another set of bad guys. Unfortunately, this next set of bad guys is politicians in Washington, D.C. Look, I'm not a politician. I'm a patriot who loves God, family, and freedom. And I've been fortunate enough to serve as 2 terms as sheriff, as a law enforcement guy, protecting our community, protecting people's constitutional rights. But I realize that a lot of these issues we're dealing with, like the border, the rising crime across this country, the economy, and the list goes on and on and on, national security. These are issues that are going to have to be fixed on a national level. I've done what I can on the local level. And so I'm going to take that fight to Washington. Now, Arizona needs a proven conservative fighter. America needs a proven conservative fighter that will stand up for God, family, freedom, and for the people's constitutional rights. And I just can't stand. It's not my nature to stand on the corner and watch the building burn to the ground.
Yeah, and as we do, and as we look to Washington for leadership, and as we see what's going on, it is time that we do find a way to make a difference up there, because what's going on, the status quo is no good anymore, right? We need to move forward. We need to find compromise, and we need to find a way to make things work. Man, I'm excited to hear some of what you're going to be doing up there. What is one or two of the first things that you intend to get done when you get in there to that U.S. Senate?
Look, I think one of the biggest things we've got to do is fix this border crisis. I think it's posing the biggest national threat to this country. They talk about Al Qaeda and they talk about Taliban and China and Ukraine. But what is presenting the greatest threat to the everyday American right now is the border. We've seen over 107,000 people die from drug and fentanyl poisonings last year. I guarantee you that number is probably going to be pretty consistent with that this year. No bad guy, no group of bad guys has had the success of killing Americans like the Chinese have by way of the cartels that bringing this drugs in here. Then you talk about the human trafficking aspect. We're seeing so many humans being trafficked across. And now when you talk about the national security piece of it, which, by the way, our friends don't respect us and our enemies don't fear us anymore, and that's a bad place to be as a country. It's not the American way. We've always been so strong. But every day we're letting in people like Mauritanians, 7,000 Mauritanians, which has become the leading breeding ground for Al Qaeda in Western Africa. And of those 7,000, only 4 were women, no children. So these are all military-age men. We've seen a 100% increase in Uzbekistanis. We've seen a huge increase in people from India, including Bangladesh. We've seen 33,000 Chinese nationals this last year, 3,900 Russians in Yuma sector alone. I mean, the list goes on and on of people from these countries that don't love America that we've just allowed to come in here. And I think it's going to pose a very, very dangerous threat to America with the amount of people we've let in here that could potentially be terrorists or that don't love America. So I think when we get to DC, that's the first thing we've got to fix is the border crisis.
Yeah, the passion that you have, Sheriff, is absolutely amazing, and it gets me energized. I got goosebumps right now. Drive safe, Dave. Listening to Sheriff Lane speak. Sacrifices, though, Sheriff, it also comes from you and your family. I mean, for this country. Can you talk a little bit about the sacrifices that not only you have to make doing what you do today, you know, going out there protecting and helping protect our country, but doing the state Senate, you know, U.S. Senate, I'm sorry, for U.S. Senate, for you and your wife and the family, man, what kind of sacrifice is that you make? I mean, what kind of burden is that put on you and your family? Because I want to say thank you in advance.
You know, Rick, I'm so glad you asked that question because the majority of the people, they grill me like I'm on a job interview, and as they should. I'm trying to run for the U.S. Senate. But the reality is this was not on my to-do list. This was not something I was looking to do. I had a good job. And even my job as a sheriff, as a public servant, I could be making 3-4 times what I make as a sheriff in the public sector or in the private sector. But I've opted to do what I can to save this country. Taking that fight to the national level, they're going to spend $100 million trying to destroy me. First, my people from my own party will try to destroy me. Then the other side will try to destroy me. And they will tear at your family. They'll tear away at your children. They'll scour the earth for every little bad thing. We have a saying in our house: you want to know what you did wrong in life? Run for office. You'll find out. Whether you didn't do it, you're going to find out. And I will tell you, it is a very unpleasant thing. We sacrifice our money. We sacrifice our reputations. We sacrifice time with our family. We sacrifice everything to be able to do this. But you know what? When you look at the founding fathers and the sacrifices they made to give us the freedoms we have that they didn't get to enjoy. Most people think, oh, they built this country and they became free. No, majority of them died poor. Some of them had very awful deaths. It was not a happy ending for most of them. And it was so that we could have freedom. Now it's time for some of us to have some of those same sacrifices so our posterity can have the blessings of liberty and freedom. And we're passionate about that in my house. And despite all the negative downside to running for public office, especially something as high as U.S. Senate, we're such patriots and we love this country so much that we're willing to do it, and we're willing to put ourselves and our family through it because we believe in America. And I think the majority of Americans believe in America the way we do. So we're going to do it.
Man, I appreciate that, Sheriff. You know, a public servant, that's spoken like a true public servant. And you know, freedom is not free. For most of the people that understand that, there is nothing free about the real freedom that we have here in this country, and it never will be. It has to be fought for, it has to be paid for, and it has to be sacrificed for. And it does sound to me like you're willing to make those genuine sacrifices. Let me ask you real quick. I want to get to some points. Number one, if you want to, you know, you have your constituents out there, you're talking to a bunch of people in the transportation industry, just reach out to them right now and tell them why you should be the United States Senator out of Arizona.
Well, I'll tell you, first and foremost, Arizona needs a proven conservative fighter, somebody that's been doing it, but doing it in a non-political way. Like, I've been fighting for this country as a sheriff. And now you can go back and take a look at my record. I've got 7 years of being a sheriff, standing up against the lockdowns of COVID, standing against the mask mandates, standing against the vaccine mandates. I've been a stalwart fighter for the Constitution, in particular, the Second Amendment. I have continually pushed against big government and government overreach, which I know all of you in the trucking industry have felt for many, many years, that this government continues to put restrictions, and it affects your bottom line and your daily life. We've got to start pulling government back. We've got to take this country back to we the people. Government is not the answer to all of our problems. Government is the farthest thing from the answer. What we need government to do is stand back, get out of our way, and let our communities, our businesses, and what this country was built on fix those issues. So if you want a guy that's going to be a champion for the people, for the Constitution, for small government, and for getting this country back to the basics, then I'm your guy. And I would hope you come support me at sherifflandforsenate.com. These campaigns are expensive, and we are getting out fundraised by my opposition. And the only way we're going to be able to compete is if we can get in there and raise the money. And I'm looking to raise small dollars. I don't want all that big swamp money of those people that think they're going to be able to tell you what to do once you get there. I want the small dollar donations from you, the American people, because you're passionate about taking your country back as well. So please, sherifflandforsenate.com.
All right. Hey, Sheriff Lamb, we have about a minute to get it before we got to leave out of here. First of all, I want to make sure you know this. Hey, we here at BCB Live, big supporters of Sheriff Lamb. We have contributed to your campaign. Hey, Sheriff, we're in your corner with you, and we're going to encourage each and every one of you as well as we talk to Sheriff Lamb. Hey, Sheriff, one more time, tell us that website to go to and make that donation for. Hey, before we do that, it's not cheap doing what you're doing. I mean, my gosh, when you're running for U.S. Senate, when you're doing anything like this, it's a lot of cash that comes out, right? I mean, am I right about that?
You're right. I got to raise millions and millions of dollars. I got to be the best salesman I've ever been in my life just to get this job.
Yeah, that's crazy that it takes so much to do something so right and so necessary, right? It's just crazy that it's necessary to happen. But you know what? If you believe in Sheriff Lamb and you believe in what we need in this country, it's very, very important to go out and you know what, Sheriff? You make a great point. Every dollar counts. Every little bit of a donation counts. Everything matters when you do this in the right way and for the right reasons. What is that website again? One more time, Sheriff, so we make sure everybody gets it.
.com. You can donate $5, $10, $20, $6,600, which is the personal limit, or $13,200 for a husband and a spouse, or a man and a woman, whatever household, I guess you say. But please come support me. Money is the mother's milk of politics. It's the only way we're going to be able to compete and be able to do the things that we need to do to get our message out. But thank you guys, Rick and Dave, for having me on. You guys are patriots, and for everybody out there that's listening, there's still hope. America's still the greatest country in the world. That's why over 200,000 plus people show up to our borders every month, because they want a piece of the American dream that we were born with and blessed with, and it's our duty to fight for it right now, and so that we can pass it on to our children. So come support me, SheriffLambForSenate.com.
Love it, Sheriff. Love it, love it, love it. Hey, one thing, just so everybody can hear this, Drive Safe Dave, when it comes to working out there, when we're hiring somebody, it doesn't matter what you do. Even when you draft a player in the NFL or the Major League Baseball, you always make room for that best player, for that person they're just a good person. You got to make room for them. I'm saying this for you. We need you at the U.S. Senate. There's always room for one more person in this thing that really does care.
One less
Sheriff,
politician.
Absolutely. Sheriff, we love what you do. Hey, before you get out of here, you got to say it. You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Hey, folks, you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. God bless you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
As the sheriff of Pinal County, I have been on the front lines of this border fight. I have personally carried the dead bodies from the ditches, rescued children from sex trafficking, and arrested gang members and drug dealers.
Hey, Sheriff Lamb out here in Pinal County, Arizona. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in America.